Hey Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome back to Civ 6, where we're playing the Cree. Also, say hi to the dog in the background that is barking. If you can hear him, go ahead and drop a comment saying woof woof in the chat. Well, it's not chat because this is a VOD, a video on demand. But you know, the game has been going quite well, and it's about time that we chose our dedication. I've had a little bit of a think about this, and I honestly think the one that I might want to not have is Heartbeat of Steam. And let me talk you through my logic here. Yes, I will get a 10% production boost towards Industrial Era and Later Wonders. So I could, in theory, go for maybe like a Ruhr Valley or maybe an Eiffel Tower. But I think by the time I get to these things, like get around to building them, I'll be so far out of this era that it's not worth it. So I think Heartbeat of the Steam is the one to drop. I won't reform the coinage, right? Because I want that extra gold for trading with my allies. I want Hicks on Dracones because I plan to maybe settle a couple of cities and maybe it'll be on a different continent. And 2 arms will just allow me to build military units a little bit better to be able to better defend myself. So I think that is the set of Golden Age benefits that we will be going for. Not only that, however, we do have to pick our next step in the tech tree. We have picked up siege tactics. I think our next scientific goal is to make our way towards chemistry. And then we also want to get seaports. But, you know, we don't have to go straight for chemistry. We can kind of meander our way around. Like, we still don't have niter. There's a lot of techs here that are like 1 turn. So maybe just cleaning up the tech tree a little bit while we build up the power of our empire is a reasonable thing to do, rather than beelining so hard. I could actually, though, I could have my arm twisted to pick up industrialization this era because it just got cheaper, right? We're now in the industrial era. So all of these techs in here, they cost their true cost, right? 930, and this costs 930. Whereas if you compare that to flight, which costs 1500, but it should only cost 1250. So I think getting industrialization now is a reasonable thing to do. It'll boost our production in the mid game and allow us to get a little bit of extra value. Now, this guy can duplicate luxuries, this great admiral that I just picked up. So maybe there's like amber or something in the water. I think I have all of the luxuries that we can get. So I may as well just print something like pearls and leave it at that and just get the benefit of the great person. I did hear a barb camp just appear. Okay, it's all the way over there. I don't care about that. We have our watermill in the capital. The capital is basically fully built with the exception of the chancery. How important is it for me to build the chancery? Well, I think I need my goal to get shipyards. Like the production of the city, right? It's literally 10 right now. This is a 1 tile coastal city with 10 production. I buy the shipyard and then refresh the tiles and it's instantaneously, like literally more than double the production in the city. So it can do things like build boats. It can do things like build builders. It can make me traders. It can make me spies. It can get to work on all this empire-wide infrastructure, at least until it has to get its water park. So that's why, like, these coastal cities, while they are not perfect, they are valuable. I think this city, now that it has its shipyard, I can sacrifice my mine tile here for a theater square. Definitely. And we got our shipyard over here as well. All of our shipyards are coming through. We could start our theater square, or I could go for my shrine and continue to grow this city. I like the idea of growing the city. The more tiles you work, the more production you make. The city doesn't have that many more productive tiles, but I do like the idea of having lots of population. I think I'll place the theater square to lock in its price and then get to work on building up the temple and stuff like that to get the... remember, extra population gives me science and culture and production and all that sort of good stuff. So lots of population is really, really good for me. So taking a look at Coop. I'm going to call it Coop. We have all of our districts. We're just missing a water park. I could theoretically, we could do a fairly basic industrial zone here. That would hit a bunch of cities. Like we have the production time to do it. Alternatively, also, one thing I should definitely do is look to buy some great works of writing here. So let's go ahead and purchase great works of writing. This is the quick deals mod, by the way, which I highly recommend. Great work, great work, great work. It's probably cheaper to buy them straight up rather than over with GPT. But I'll buy all those great works. And now that's an extra 8 culture and 8 tourism per turn, which kind of gets us in the direction of winning a tourism victory. We could justify picking up an art museum. Let me have a little bit of a look around. If I build an archaeological museum, it would boost natural history, and I would like natural history to be boosted, but do I have to build it right now? Maybe like an industrial zone isn't like the worst thing. Maybe like a single industrial zone here with relatively okay overlap, right? This overlaps what? 1, 2, 3, 4 cities. It's not terrible. That's 12 production, potentially up to 24 production across my empire, plus great engineer points. Sometimes there are late game great engineers that do give you tourism. So let's go ahead and do some industrial zone stuff. We'll get that industrial zone going. I think that's a reasonable decision. I think I'll hard build my chancery. Although no, I need to be building like traders and spies in here, so I'll get more traders. Let's keep some caravels around here up in the north to keep things nice and protected. Exploration is going well. Looks like the Zulu settled one of the islands I was considering settling. Let's have a little bit of a look around. If we're going to go settle international cities, we should be looking for luxuries. Like I'm thinking there's a city here somewhere. I think right here there's a city. Maybe on the horses, like let's go here. Yeah, if I settled on the horses... I mean, it is slightly low loyalty, but we can figure that out. If we went harbour, we could also go holy site. You know, there is a city potentially here on these horses. It has plenty of fishing tiles around. There's also a city over here. Quite an accomplished city, actually, because I could put a harbour here. Right, hear me out. Harbour. Theatre square on the one tile island with a water park in the middle and then a holy site. Like we could build a full city here in terms of tourism. Like it's not a bad spot for a city. So there's at least 2 more settlers on the cards. There's a settler over here, I reckon. Now, where exactly would we put it? On the one tile dip or on the Plains Hill? I think we would go Plains Hill because that puts us in range to get this hill as well. Now, the question is, where does the harbour go if we do this? I guess a +3 harbour is fine. And then do we go theatre square with water park? Like this, maybe? This configuration looks kind of okay. Yeah, that looks fine if we could get one over this. That's 3 cities we've planned. Do I want to settle this? Now, this is all like kind of crappy desert. I kind of want to settle this just for memes. Similarly, I want to settle this just for memes. We could also settle down here for memes. You know, memes are a worthwhile reason to settle something, in my opinion. So we could do something kind of like this. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. There's little meme cities down here. I think we're going to do a bunch of island settling. Yeah, let's do some island settling. I'm laying out a few spots here. I don't know if this one is worth it. I think I'll skip down here. I don't want to go overboard. I don't want to go too crazy. But there's chocolate over here, for example. It would be fun to pick up a bit of chocolate. So like, what if we put a city on this tile? We put a harbour right on here. And then we put, I don't know, like a holy site there. Although the holy site could be better here. That's still a +3. Then we put the theatre square right here. And then adjacent to the theatre square is the water park. Yeah, I like this. This is all looking kind of interesting. So once I get to mercantilism, I look into switching to maybe do a little bit of settler production because I have the production now, right? I have my shipyards, and shipyards give me the power. They give me the sauce. We're going to use our spy here to try to foment unrest because it has the highest success rate. And that's all we care about. All we care about is the 84% chance of success. We want to do it twice to try to level him up twice. And then once he's twice leveled, we might have promotions or whatever to be able to decide to use him for a different purpose. Right, we got square rigging. Good, good, good. We got a trader in the capital. Now, one thing I need to consider here is which of my cities are missing trade routes? And I think all of them have outgoing trade routes. I'm just going to go through and check. My capital is missing a trade route. Takoop is missing a trade route. I wonder why that is. You have a trade route. You have a trade route. Yeah, so there's 2 cities missing trade routes. It's this city and my capital. So I'll get another trader in here. Just trader. Build up that power base. Now that I'm earning tourism, it could be worth it for me to make sure that I have trade routes with every player. But I want to get a trade route in every city at least first. And then I'll look to trade with individual players. We got our shrine. Let's get our temple. Perfect. Continue to just pump that food out. I mean, look how fast the city is growing. It's making 34 food per turn and it's eating 18. It has a 16 food surplus with no growth penalties or anything like that. Now, all of my cities are just neutral in terms of contentedness. Maybe there's a luxury I could grab. I could buy another great work. I will. And Any luxuries up for sale? No. Unfortunate. So we're going to go ahead and trade with... By the way, look at the gold on this Rack of Death trade route, bro. That's insane. 37 gold, 6 food, 4 production. These are like crazy trade routes. These are thumbnail worthy. Thumbnail worthy. Bruh. Now we have mercantilism. Now the interesting thing about mercantilism is it can be worth it to plug in triangular trade. It's like it scales well with harbours. Maybe that's better than +1 production from urban planning. Maybe triangular trade is what we really need. I don't know. This feels pretty good to me. It's another 36 gold. Maybe there's another card I'd like to plug in. Am I going to get around a settler? Maybe I need to have the settler card plugged in. You know, these are all things that are worthy of consideration. I think I will have the settler card plugged in because now I can begin the process of getting those settlers. They take about 5 turns to get, which at this stage of the game is a pretty reasonable speed. 6 turns in this city. We did just get an amphitheater blown up and stuff like that, but I will prioritize the settler. Well, I guess I'll finish the amphitheater first. The overflow production should work here. I'm thinking anything under 10 turns for a settler, totally viable. This will take a little bit too long because it's a weak city in terms of production. So we'll skip getting a settler in here. Don't forget, when you build a settler from one city, it'll make future settlers more expensive. Now this city has nothing it can do except make traders and stuff like that, so I will get a settler. Now I wanted you to trade with Rack of Death, and then I wanted to do a little bit of like careful international trade specifically for benefits like tourism and city-state envoys, all that sort of jazz. So the dream of national parks over here is long dead. I think we'll just let that dream die. I guess theoretically, if I were quick to settle in here, I could get a national park in here, but I'm just going to let that dream die. We'll figure that out later. Let's go ahead and train with Bologna. Get that one envoy. But yeah, I think the episode has been going quite a bit, so I wanted to take a moment here to talk about a couple of the stories that were sent in to me by email. And the first one was sent to me was by Seth. He is a member of the Comanche Nation. And I do apologize. Listen, I'm going to mispronounce all of these things, okay? I have literally no idea how to pronounce these things. So pinch of forgiveness, please. I will pop down a theater square here in PP Kesis. But yeah, like I won't be able to pronounce those things. Just, ounce of forgiveness. Let's all just let it slide. But he was part of the Comanche Nation, who are also known as the Namunu. And they suffered really aggressive and extensive assimilation programs to the point where like Seth has trouble actually finding data about like his, the people of the nation in some respects, because it was just like it was essentially erased through these really terrible like re-education programs. His great-grandmother was the last person in his family to be raised in the tribe. But when she was 8 years old, she was essentially taken from her family and forced to attend like a re-education school, which is insane. Like, I can't believe I've said that sentence. But now even that story has like a little bit of a happy ending, kind of, in the sense that like she found her own happiness. She had a really big family, and she also managed to reconnect with her nation. And Seth and his family have kind of kept that tradition alive. So there's like, this kind of, I don't know if I want to say that's like the silver lining, but like, it wasn't a story that ended in complete and total tragedy. But it was still a horrific story. To be taken from your family and essentially someone attempts to brainwash you, that's insane. But yeah, Seth was saying he goes to the Comanche Nation gathering every fall, which is kind of cool. I think he said that sometimes they're called powwows. And I gotta be honest with you, powwows sound awesome. Like, they sound like really, really fun. I would totally be down to go to one. Although it just sounds really cool. I was listening to some music, like the drumming and kind of like, it's almost like throat singing that they do. I don't know how to describe it, but it was really, really cool. I really, really enjoyed it. But another thing Seth talked about, and this is something I can kind of relate to, is the fact that the Comanche language it's dying out slowly. Or rather than slowly, it's actually going quite quickly. Like, it's happening pretty rapidly. Like, a lot of the people who actually speak the language are retired older people who, they're essentially beyond the pale. They're no longer, it's dying out. And this is something, again, like I can relate to, because Irish as a language is dying out like insanely quickly. I think, I don't even want to look at the statistics on how many people speak Irish, because it's not good. It's really, really not good. But it would be good if they could get like audio recordings of the Comanche people like speaking their language, so that it doesn't get completely like giga obliterated or whatever. That would be nice. I don't know what the status is of their language. He did say that he would like more awareness around like issues like that, like the fact that languages are being destroyed. It would be cool if we had like some preservation or incentives or stuff like that to keep those languages alive, because they are an interesting piece of history and culture and it's a living history and culture, right? So that makes it even more worthy of preservation and care. In my opinion, anyway, like these are like it would, I equate it to like preserving an animal species. And I don't mean that in a way of like comparing tribal people to animals. That's not the intention there. The intention there is to recognize that human actions, are causing pressure on a thing that is dying out. And maybe we should see the value in that thing and make an attempt to preserve it. I think that's the message that I'm trying to convey there. And, yeah, that would be cool if we could do something like that. I also got an email from Brandon, and Brandon's story is a little bit more grim. It's a tough one. I'm going to paraphrase it a lot, and I'm going to like not make full references to everything he talks about. We just got industrialization, by the way, which means our mines get +1 production, and we can start getting to work on getting factories, which we will do in here. Honestly, I could probably just use my gold. And if I sell like a little bit of stuff for raw gold, we can get that done real quick. Hang on. Yeah, I'll be able to do it next turn. But the very first thing Brandon talked about was the thing that we've talked about every single episode of this series, which was reinforcing the idea that issues relating to like Native American identity, you can't generalize them. You can't generalize them, because every issue is going to be specific to not only the person, but also the tribe, but also the country, because Native people exist in the United States of America, they exist in Canada, they exist in Mexico, they exist all over South America, in Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia. All these places have Native people, and they're going to have different situations, even down to the state of America or the county. You might have different issues because maybe there's like, I don't know, local groups that are making life more difficult, or maybe there's local support groups that are making life good. These things can go both ways. And I think that's really the key takeaway here, is that while a broad awareness is a good thing, try not to boil things down into generalities about the status of Native issues. Every person, tribe, country is going to have a slightly different situation. So rather than trying to like make broad sweeping claims, try to understand the individual issues, I think would be a good starting point. But Brandon told me about how Native people were treated with these like, well, also, by the way, we got a Kilwa Kisawani, which is +3 envoys and a 15% type boost based on the city-state we have Suzerainty of. Also, fishing boats, +1 production. That's pretty poggers, which is, in the context of what I'm about to talk about, it's probably a little bit inappropriate. What I'm about to talk about is very much so not poggers. We will take Suzerainty of Singapore, because that's going to be a 15% production boost in this city. And then if I can also get Suzerainty of Auckland, this would be like a huge boost. Hold on, this is actually important enough. I mean, it's maybe not more important, but hold on, it's part of the content. Let me just quickly do this. I want to plug in Diplomatic League real quick so I can get Suzerainty of Auckland. Boom, nice. I just need like a little bit more, and then once I'm suzerain of them, we'll get a 15% production boost across our entire empire and access to Auckland's unique ability. Yeah, but like I was saying, it's probably a bit inappropriate for me to be saying like poggers and stuff like that, because I'm about to talk about like some pretty grim stuff. The basic gist of it is, it's actually, if any of you are Irish, you will probably have heard of like the unwed mother homes in Ireland, where just really horrific abuses went on. They were essentially like special homes for women who had children who weren't married, at a time when that was considered like shameful and sinful in Ireland. And so you can imagine how these women were treated. The human rights were like a foreign concept in these places. Your entire life was regimented by a religious fanatic with like a penchant for sadism, and this kind of basically mirrors a lot of the experiences that like the Native people of Brandon's nation. I can't remember off the top of my head what his nation was. I should have checked that. I don't know if he told me. But yeah, essentially these people were ripped from their families and forced to attend like a re-education school, these residential schools, which are crazy. It's really, really horrifying to read about them. And I'm only going to make vague sort of allusions to them because I don't want to go into the nitty gritty of like what really went on. If you're curious about it, you can find out about more of it. Like this, I just wanted this to be like a place where people could share their experiences and maybe be like a bridge to someone deciding to find out more. I don't want to force upon anyone how horrific these places were, but these were just evil places that were explicitly set up to, harm a culture, harm a nation. I think the impact of that kind of evil will haunt United States history in particular, right? Most of my audience is from the US, so I think that's why we're going to talk about it in that framework, because like most people are going to be familiar with that. That sort of stuff is going to haunt the US a bit. And I think the thing that we should take away from it is to acknowledge that pain and suffering from the past, but also to like make a commitment to be aware of if it's happening now. Maybe there is somewhere or someone near you or some local issue that is maybe not necessarily similar, but kind of in the same direction that you should be aware about. I think by working together, we can prevent stuff like this happening again, and also heal from it. I think that would be good. But of course, that requires a lot of work from a lot of different people and a lot of different elements of society. Brandon also talked a little bit about his like personal experience living on a reservation, and it's unique in the sense that it is his story, but it's also a story that some of you out there who aren't native might be familiar with. He basically, drugs are rampant, crime is rampant, there's political nepotism and favoritism from the people in power. The insane levels of not only drug use, but also drug misuse. People, suffering health effects, medically overdosing, all that sort of stuff from using drugs. And then also like the complete lack of education. Brandon told me that like a very, very small minority of people in his reservation actually even had high school level qualifications, which is kind of crazy. And it just goes to show you that this is just like an incredibly deprived community. And not only that, but like you also have to suffer some other issues. For example, his own grandmother, or I think, was it his mother or his grandmother? I can't remember. But she suffered a medical issue that wasn't taken seriously because of her identity, because she was a native person and because she was from this like extremely disadvantaged community. Her medical illness was not taken seriously, and she died younger than she should have. Like she had a preventable illness. It wasn't necessary. Which is just awful, just really, really, truly awful. And that's actually an issue across a lot of different indigenous and even just impoverished communities around the world. Is like your health issues won't be taken seriously because you're from a bad area, or you'll be treated differently because you are XYZ, insert whatever character trait that someone has decided to treat you differently for, which really, really sucks. It really, really sucks. But I think the big thread here from Brandon's story was just how pervasively destructive things like substance abuse can be for communities. He even shared with me a personal story about how a close family member of his threatened him with violence over substances, which is crazy. The actual story itself, I don't want to. It was kind of like a close member of his family had misplaced one of their substances and accused him of stealing. Of course, with real violence, not like, oh, I'll mess you up, give me my stuff. Like really, like this could get out of hand kind of violence, And then he found it later and acted like, he hadn't just threatened his own family's life. That's just, par for the course if you live in a society ravaged by drugs, which is really not good. Not good for anyone involved in that situation. And I think that's probably, I think this is a good point to talk about. Like the way we treat like addicts is really wrong. It's an illness, yes. And look, I understand that you have to do a certain amount of separation in order to prevent the negative effects of that drug use on yourself. But don't let yourself be falling into hatred of these people. I think that's inappropriate to hate someone because they're suffering from an illness. You can just do the bare minimum to empathize with them. It's like, hey, you know, this person was dealt like probably one of the worst cards imaginable, and now, yes, they're causing bad consequences. But I think, you know, I'm trying to figure out how exactly to talk about this. Like, it is an illness, and you should protect yourself from the negative consequences from someone else's addiction, but don't lead yourself into hatred of them. I think would be what I would say. I think that's mostly what I wanted to talk about there. So those were really, really good emails. I super appreciated them. Thank you guys so much for sharing those stories with me. Yeah, they were difficult to read, some of them, and I probably won't get to all of them in this whole series, but I will try to highlight a few of the ones that I think are, and you know, this might be like they're a little bit easier to talk about. Is because some of them aren't easy to talk about. I'll admit that, and those ones I probably just won't. And that's not like a executive decision. It's just I don't know how to talk about them appropriately, some of them. But yeah. Thank you guys so much for sharing those experiences with me. But let's get back to the game. Okay, we do have Horatio Nelson, so if and when we do finish a harbour, we can use him to instantaneously get ourselves a lighthouse and shipyard. So I want to have him parked here. Wherever our next shipyard is coming up is probably the place, which is over here, most likely. And we did, by the way, actually get control of Auckland, which is giving all of our tiles +1 production, but also an additional +2 or +1 production because we are in the industrial era. So our coastal yields here have kind of popped off. And I think I'm going to go ahead and post this as a screenshot to my Twitter so people can see just how goated this location is. So I would like feedback on, like, how did you guys feel about me sharing those stories? I know some people aren't going to like it. That's totally appropriate. This series might not be for you. This isn't something I'm going to do every series. I did this on a whim. I wanted to do something a little bit different. Personally speaking, from a creative standpoint, I like doing things that are slightly different. I like changing things up. And anyone who's followed me for a long enough time has noticed that over time, my content morphs and it evolves, and I do different things and I experiment with different methods and platforms. Like, I've tried live streaming, I've tried video editing, I've tried all sorts of different ways of doing things. And this is just another iteration of that process where we're kind of experimenting with a different, it's not wholly different, but it's like a slightly different way to do a little bit of content. Now, because I was focusing on talking, I did not keep track of how many settlers I built. So, yeah, I may have overbuilt, but that's okay. Overbuilding settlers isn't the worst, crime in the world. The worst crime in the world is wearing sock-fit sandals. But yeah, let's go ahead and grab ourselves a little bit of builders. Well, actually, I don't have the builder card plugged in, so maybe I'll get one more settler in these cities, and then we'll call it quits. Not you, though. You get me a spy instead. So I'll get out these last 2 settlers, and then I think that'll be it. Last 3 settlers, actually. That should be more than enough settlers for what we want to do. I have a little Dark Age from MGMT stuck in my head, by the way. I've been occasionally checking in on TikTok. And the TikTok meme songs have just started getting absolutely wedged into my psyche, and it's really difficult to deal with. Linguist, I think Linguist is good, so I'll grab Linguist, and maybe I can teleport him somewhere. He's level 2 now. Level 3 is nice, but maybe I want to use him to start taking control of some city-states, looking for ones with really, really high envoy numbers, like Zanzibar. I need to get control of Zanzibar big time. So just start bringing down those envoy numbers from other civs. But yeah, there's 2 songs that have been stuck in my head continuously for the last week. The first one is Little Dark Age by MGMT, which is if you get out of bed, it doesn't go away. It's super amazingly catchy. And then the other one is the Louis Theroux meme rap, where he's doing an interview and she's like, so, do you remember what rap you did? Have you ever done any rap? And he was like, I rapped for some TV show. And she was like, could you do the rap for us? And he's like, my money doesn't jiggle jiggle, it folds. I like it when you wiggle wiggle, for sure. And it's that, for that thing right there, I have literally walked around my house just singing that for a week straight now. And I can't stop singing the Louis Theroux meme rap. I cannot. It is wedged into my psyche. I'm going to go ahead and trade with Sterling here, mostly for the tourism boost. We are starting to generate a little bit of passive tourism. How's the culture game going, by the way? Wilhelmina has popped off in terms of culture, which is really annoying. I wonder if she's in a golden age. No, she isn't. That's actually extra annoying because she didn't really have the culture to defend here for a long time, and now she's popping off, which is annoying. So we'll have to kind of start working on dealing with that. You could steal a tech boost It doesn't get higher than 90%. You could also steal a novel. That's novel steal. Be a novel stealer. All right, nice. You settled on a new continent. Now, the nice thing about settling on a new continent is the city starts with 4 population. So let's go ahead and get a granary to prevent the city from starving. I will get a monument to allow the culture to expand. And we'll get a builder to improve the fishing tiles. We have the money to be able to buy these inefficient builders right now. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And then we'll get to work on the +4 harbour. Eventually +5 harbour. Oh, you can place your second district, actually. Let's do Holy Site. Let's do Giga Growth. Harbour first, though. That city in particular is just like a really good candidate for that. Now, the extra loyalty from settling this city is helpful because now I can plonk on the horses. That's something I never thought about Hicks and Dracones, is if you settle a 4-pop city, that actually puts a significant amount of loyalty pressure around it, which will make your life easier. Something has been stolen from me. Ah, the mission is no longer valid to steal that. Well, let's just go to Zanzibar now then. You've got an 84% chance of succeeding, which I think is in the range of being like safe enough for me to commit a spy to it. We managed to get our amphitheater, or our archaeological museum in here. And I think that is going to be the moment that triggers the change to wall construction for me. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting my ancient walls. We're not too far from conservation, and that's worth 6 tourism per city. And 6 tourism per city is nothing to sniff at. I will get 1 art museum here. I want 3 art museums in total, so that I can fill them with 3 different artists' works. That's like the ideal ratio that I found in my games. I don't think it's like the golden ratio, the perfect ratio or whatever, but it's an ideal ratio that I found works in most scenarios. Most scenarios, it has value. All right, let's pop down here and get that fish improved. Look at that fishing tile. This is a brand new city and it's cracking out production and food, man. I'm telling you, man, this build that we've gone for is just so good. It's like the right way to play. There's a right way to play and a wrong way to play, and right now we're playing the right way to play. I'll get an art museum in here, I guess. In this city, we're still waiting on that, so we'll get an amphitheater. Our culture is like insane right now. It's feeling amazing. Feels amazing, man. Settler head down south. I'm hoping for no bad guys in the form of barbarians. Steel has advanced. We've got more settlers. So I think it's 1 more settler, and then we can switch out the settler card. This city wants to get its temple. We're missing growth. Look at that production, man. 67 production, by the way. Easy clap. No cap, easy clap. Auckland actually just broke my game, by the way. It's such a broken civ. Like, I don't even know what to tell you. Bro, like, look at these coastal tiles, dog. That's insane. It's insane. Dude, I love Auckland. Auckland is so good. It's so good. So loyalty pressure in here is a little bit of a problem. I'll just grab Moksha real quick and pop him in this city. That'll keep the city happy. I'm going to go ahead and spend a granary and a monument. And I'll get a builder. And I'll grab myself a few fish tiles just to help the city get started, you know? Just help the city out. Get it off the ground. That's all you need. All you need to do is get it off the ground. You don't need to do anything fancy. Just give it a kickstart into the world, and that should make a big difference. I think a lot of people like psych themselves out a little when using their gold. Also, I'm sitting on 6k faith, which is good. Those are rock bands, baby. We do have the public works card. Let's take out settlers. Do I want builders right now? I don't want builders for a little while. Let's take out Diplomatic League. We'll plug in Republican Legacy. Retainers goes obsolete soon, right? Try to remember where Retainers goes. Yeah, it goes obsolete at mass media. So we want to take advantage of this for a little while longer, but soon I will be plugging in faster wall construction. So that'll be on the card soon. Culturally, I want to go for natural history. I want that water park as well as archaeologists and the 2 envoys. Just all of that stuff really suits me. The earlier we get it, the better. I am going to want to think about, like, what's the flooding looking like? There actually isn't too much flooding, to be honest with you. I could go for railroads. I never built an encampment. Railroads do lead to seaports, and that would be a huge amount of gold. Do I need the gold? Is there anything else I could spend my time on? I think we're playing top half of Tech Tree here. So that's something we need to consider is top half of Tech Tree. That means maybe going for fast electricity. It's a lot of gold, it's a lot of food. We could also push for Eiffel. Eiffel push isn't bad. It's not a bad push. The problem is we are going to want computers. I haven't seen any floodable tiles, actually. It's something to consider. Maybe there's no floodable... Oh, wait, this is appeal. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not seeing floodable tiles which is kind of giving me an inkling that maybe there's no floodable tiles, which means in this particular game, flood barriers is not as important for me here. But I do still want that 25% tourism. So making my way towards computers is the right move, I think. So let's grab steam power and head towards electricity. I think that's a reasonable choice. Having spent a little bit of time thinking about it, analysing what we could have done, what we couldn't do, that seems reasonable. I would like to get an entertainment complex, and I think the overlap here is relatively good. That's like a 5-city overlap right there. So I'll just pop down an entertainment complex there. That's four turns, and that'll give me a little bit of a boost. Do I want to get that entertainment complex now? No, I think I want to build up my great people points generation. I need to think about when I want to go for opera and ballet. Sorry, it's not opera and ballet. It's frescoes. Do I want to do frescoes this game? Let's have a little bit of a think about our great artists, great writers. A lot of great writers have gone. How many great artists have gone? 2 have gone. Any musicians? No musicians yet. Yeah, we're not ahead on great artist points yet. We're climbing up on great writer points. So I think we stay the course. Let's grab a Mani. I'm going to put a Mani into Zanzibar because Zanzibar is actually really important to me. I need that double luxury, and I also need as many envoys in Zanzibar as possible. Let's go ahead and repeat that really good Egyptian route. Egypt is carrying my empire, by the way. Like, this is just the giga chat. Like, look, I want to just go through the city reports, by the way. Yields by production, okay? Look at that. 97, 84, 70 production, 60, 55. Only my freshly settled cities without harbours have sub 40 production. That's insane. Do I want to settle a 1-tile stone island? I'm not sure, but I like how wacky. I love this map script. I love how wacky the world is with it. I think this might be a good trading post and loyalty buffer for the city. Boom, another trading post. This city wants to go ahead and get itself a monument. Get a granary, we buy a builder, we buy the 2 tiles, we immediately slap down a harbour, like so. God, look at the production on that 1-tile island, by the way. 3.6. Oh, it's a thing of beauty. Hell yeah. I still need to like fill these cities, these newly settled cities with, what you call the guys? Garrisons. To give them friendship happiness. Amenities. That's the word I was looking for. Friendship happiness? Jesus Christ. We're happy to let the world stand united as friends. Ooh, we have ourselves a little settler here. This is our last one. We'll send him out into the great unknown. Taking a look at my capital. Where do I stand in the game? We're very much so making our way towards conservation very soon. So where do I stand in here? Things like settlers, things like builders are the best thing to be building. It might even be worth it to move Pingala out of this city because there are higher population cities now. Like over here, this city has like 15 pop, which is nutty buddy. 32 food surplus. Oh my god, it's growing in like a handful of turns. I love how Apadana is still available. +2 envoys when you build a wonder, including Apadana in the city. Yeah, the big thing here, I think, is what the hell do I do with my time? Generating faith for rock bands could be fun, so we'll just do like, I'll do like a few holy site prayers. I'll do 3 seems reasonable. Did we build walls in here, actually? That's a good question. We never built walls. Let's get the walls going. Tourism. Everything that gives me tourism is what we need to do. Let's get that. What? Japan wants to be friends. I need to renew some alliances here. I need a scientific alliance with Robert the Bruce. Pop in there. How's it going? Research alliance. You're willing to pay me. And then we'll talk to Japan. I think it was a cultural alliance with Japan. There we go. How's our religion looking? By the way. Looking relatively safe. We could continue to spread our religion. I don't necessarily think it's worth it to spread our religion. I think we're happy to sit where we are. So how many I think I've built 2 art museums. Let's get our 3rd art museum. 3rd art museum is an important threshold. Any commercial hub builders? Yes, Persia built commercial hubs. Best, always be stealing from commercial hubs. They're extremely efficient missions. What's your best course of action here? Honestly, do a couple harbor shippings. Extra money. These yields over here are goated, man. Look at these yields. So let's get our spy to fabricate scandals. This will lower the amount of envoys in the city by 5 for the top contender. There's a 2% chance of omega failure, which is pretty low. But if we take a look at Zanzibar and we look at the levels of influence here, we only need to run that mission like twice and we cripple the chokehold the AI has over this city-state. I personally don't love the RNG nature of spy missions in this game. It would be kind of better to me if they were less RNG. I kind of like, I don't know. It feels very uninteractive. to have like to roll a dice on an ability against someone. I don't know, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's fine. Spying is a difficult system to implement because of just like the fundamental like design constraints that it needs to like follow and stuff like that. And you know, I can understand why spying doesn't always come out the best in games. But I think Civ 6 spying is like relatively accomplished. Like it does what it needs to do relatively well, and doesn't like completely ruin the game, which is honestly all you could ask for from a game system. Is like, do what you want to do an okay job, and then don't ruin the game for me. Thank you. Because it probably is very easy to ruin a game with a system like spying if you're not careful, because you make it too powerful and it's not fun enough to engage with, you've ruined your game. So what district do I want in here actually is an interesting question. I think we go Theatre Square, the basic. We do the basics. We just maximize our yield of production, gold, food, all that sort of stuff. Always buy a builder, although I do want the builder card plugged in. So let's do this real quick. We're no longer building settlers. We will just temporarily plug in public works so we can get efficient builder purchases now. 5 charges rather than 3. I know I built a few 3 charge builders, but that's okay. It's okay if I do that occasionally. It's just more efficient if we don't. We have steam power now, perfect. Railroads and extra movement for embarked units. Fully built walls in here. We still don't have natural history, so take a turn, I guess, and make me a warrior. I could use a warrior. It's turn 202, bro. I could use a warrior. Crab people. Zulu wants to be friends. I need to reignite that military alliance with them. There's natural history, so we have access to archaeologists as well as water parks. So our tourism ramp is beginning. Everything we've been doing up to this point is to be ready for the ramp. We haven't been really generating tourism, but now that we're at natural history, we have officially, like, if you imagine, the last 200 turns has like been building the car that's going to drive up the ramp, okay? We settled a bunch of cities. We set up an extremely overpowered economy. We pre-built all of our, you know, theater squares. We have like an entire industry set up to hit this ramp and hit every single point on the ramp, right? So the first point of the ramp here is natural history. That's where we get archaeologists. That's where we get our water parks. That's where we get things like Ferris wheels, zoos, aquariums. So this is going to be the first chunk of tourism we start generating. Then the second half of the ramp is conservation, okay? This is where we get tourism from our walls. This is where we get access to naturalists, right? Remember, we set up our empire for naturalists. We're going to want to, as part on the way to conservation now, we're going to want to get 2, 3, maybe 4 builders in position around here to start planting forests the second we hit conservation. Then slap down those 4 national parks instantaneously. The next part of the ramp is to hit democracy so that our international trade routes give us even more benefits and also increase the rate of our alliances even more. Then the next part of the ramp is to hit cultural heritage to get even more shipwrecks, even more artifacts, even more tourism from great works of art and artifacts. Then the next part of the ramp is to hit space race for extra tourism from great works of music. And then the next part is to hit the 25% tourism boost across your empire from environmentalism. And then it's online communities for the 15% tourism output. The civilizations have a trade route. And we have all the trade routes, right? So we have now, like I'm saying, right? We have built the car and now we're on the ramp. And let me show you the ramp in the next episode. I love you all very much and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.